Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the DRF Sunday race of the day, which is the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga. Getting to the end of the Saratoga meet, but you would definitely want to pay attention to this race later this weekend. It is one of the most anticipated matchups of the summer, with Sierra Leone facing off against his main rival, Mindframe, once again. And to handicap this race, definitely want to check out the Labor Day sale that we've got going on at Daily Racing Form through this weekend. You can save 15% on all of your favorite DRF products, including handicapping products. Just use that coupon code LBD15 off when you do your shopping at shop.drf.com. Mike, this Jockey Club Gold Cup is going to happen pretty early on Sunday, so definitely be aware that post time for this race is 1:45 p.m. Eastern. Race 5 on a mammoth 14 race card Sunday at Saratoga. Obviously, the early scheduling for this race is due to satisfying TV schedules. This race will be shown, I believe, on the Fox channel. And Mike, got the two main players in here, Sierra Leone and Mindframe. They're going to match up once again.
Yeah, arguably the two best older males in the country. I mean, there are a couple of other horses who I'm sure want to be included in that conversation, but these two horses are really good. And it's just great to see them showing up here in the same spot. They're going to go 1.25 miles as well, which I think is also key. And listen, David, they're both really good. There are other really good horses in this field.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at this point, Sovereignty is regarded as the early favorite for the Breeders' Cup Classic, and I think rightly so in light of his 115 buyer in the Travers. But in terms of the older horses, Mike, a lot of the top ones are in this race. This is a real preview of who Sovereignty is going to have to face and how much of a challenge it will face him in the Breeders' Cup Classic based on how this race transpires on Sunday. So I'm going to be interested to see how those two favorites do, but also horses like Highland Falls, who won it last year, and White Barrio, the 2023 Whitney winner, do against those two main protagonists. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race to get a sense of how this field could sort itself out in the early stages. And Mike, once again, Sierra Leone's Rabbit is back in here, the number 6 Contrary Thinking, not much of a contender on paper to win the race, but he definitely should have an impact on how this race is run. And there is some speed outside of him, including the number 7 Phileas Fogg, who just kind of has one way to go, and that's to the front end.
Yeah, exactly. The Rabbit certainly feels like it's gonna, affect Phileas Fogg, maybe more than anybody else in this field. Phileas Fogg's been in really good form, and he did just win a race going this distance on this track. But man, he wants to be on the lead, and having Contrary Thinking in here sort of mucks up his plan a little bit.
With this being the Sunday race of the day, do note you can get free past performances for this race. Just go over to the race of the day page at DRF.com. Make sure you're signed into your account when you do so, and you'll get access to free Classic, Formulator, and Timeform US PPs for each and every DRF race of the day. Let's go through this high-quality field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1, Disarm. And Mike, this is a horse that had been off form for a couple of seasons. He ran that big race, obviously, in the Travers back in 2023, and then had a bit of a off season in 2024 when he was a 4-year-old. Took some time to turn things around at the start of this year, but he ran his best race in a long time last time out in the Whitney when he finished 3rd at a very big price behind Sierra Leone and Highland Falls. And yeah, he got some pace to close into, but he moved on the backstretch and was still running on at the end of that race. And 10 furlongs is not a problem for him.
I mean, that's what he really has going for him, in my opinion, is the distance of this race. The two best races that he ran as a 3-year-old were the Kentucky Derby and the Travers, going 10 furlongs. And then they got, he just, as you put out, he had an off year. Like, he was 3rd in this race last year, but he didn't run that well. I mean, never looked like he was going to win that race. He got back on track a little bit in the Whitney last time. I think mostly because of what you were saying, David. He sort of moved early into that race to get up behind the leaders, and he was just sort of grinding on through the stretch. It was another race where it never looked like he was going to win, and he had a clean run down towards the inside through the stretch, but he still took a nice step forward there. It was a race with bar shoes off, and I believe that they're going to be off again here, so that's probably a good thing for him, and the added distance could I guess, bring him a little bit closer here.
Yeah, when I was handicapping this race and starting with Disarm, I thought to myself, he's interesting in here. He ran really well last time. I liked his workout coming into this race. It seems like he's thriving. He's just facing off against some really tough rivals once again, including the number 2, Highland Falls, who defeated Disarm in the Jockey Club Gold Cup last year. And let's take a look at the winner of this race from last year, Highland Falls, as he obviously appreciated stretching out the 10 furlongs this day. But Mike, he did a lot of running early in this race to go after Arthur's Ride on the front end. Remember, Arthur's Ride was the heavy favorite in this Jockey Club Club off an impressive victory in the Whitney, and Highland Falls took it to him right from the start, used his stamina to put him away and hold off the closers in the late stages. This was a big effort from him. Obviously, he failed to show up in the Breeders' Cup after that, but they came back for his 5-year-old season this year, got him a perfect prep at Aqueduct, and he showed up with a big effort last time in the Whitney. I know we handicapped that race, Mike. I talked about maybe that be a good sub-prep race or stepping stone race for him to get to the Jockey Club, which would really suit him going the 10 furlong distance, but he ran better than I even expected in the Whitney, and that could set him up for another huge effort here.
It'll be interesting to see if he does move forward again. I actually liked him, I think, more than you did in the Whitney and bet him in that race. I thought he ran great in there. Yeah, the race that we showed that you showed earlier, the win in this race last year, that was a legit win. That field wasn't nearly as strong as this one, but that was a legit win from this horse. And then I did think he ran really well in the Whitney last time. The question that I have, and again, I say this as somebody who really liked him last time, even with the 1.25 miles in play now, and we know he likes that, is it that much of an advantage for him over horses like Sierra Leone and maybe some others? Because I got to be honest, David, as well as he ran last time, he was only second best in there. He had no excuse in that race. Sierra Leone just ran better than he did and beat him. We'll see if the 10 furlongs makes a difference.
That is totally fair. I mean, if you're somebody who was trying to make an excuse for fierceness in that race, saying that he was too close to a fast pace, I mean, Highland Falls was perched right outside of fierceness every step of the way. So, I mean, you could make the same excuse for him. And I agree. Sierra Leone went by him in the stretch. And let's actually take a look at the stretch run of that Whitney as we transition to talking about Sierra Leone. But, Mike, I did like the way that Highland Falls, once Sierra Leone moved outside, just clung to him from the quarter pole home. He never let Sierra Leone fully get away from him. But still, when you watch this race unfold, you could just see Sierra Leone traveling well behind those speeds every step of the way. What I really liked is the turn of foot that he showed at the quarter pole to sort of immediately get himself in position to pounce. And once he did, he's able to use that long stride of his to just gradually pull away from this field in the late stages. And as you said, stretching back out the 10 furlongs is supposed to play right into Sierra Leone's hands.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the races like that Whitney that we just watched, and then, of course, the Breeders' Cup Classic as well, those are races that make Sierra Leone so confounding to me. That, at least in my opinion, I mean, because he can run like that, and I know that he can run like that, where he doesn't need, things to do, everything to be in his favor to be a really impressive horse. He'll get himself into the race. He will keep coming through the stretch. He'll actually be on top of the leaders by the time the field turns into this stretch, so he's not so badly compromised. But he won't do it every time, David. He'll just do it sometimes. Boy, he was awful good in the Whitney last time, and it just feels like if he runs that race back, I know Mindframe beat him in the Foster. It did feel to me like, pace and trip aside in that race, it did feel like even at that time, things weren't going perfectly for Sierra Leone earlier this year. I think they might be going pretty well for him right now, and he was awful good winning the Whitney last time.
Yeah, I know he's got a bit of a reputation as a horse that doesn't always get the job done, but the bottom line is, Mike, when he's gotten pace, he's run those big races and generally wins, and he's supposed to get pace in this race, and we'll see how that affects the number 4 Mindframe. And Mike, I think you have to recognize when you look at Mindframe's PPs, I mean, not only has he run well every time, but he's met Sierra Leone a couple of times and has finished ahead of him in each of those races, including last time out in the Stephen Foster, where I did think he got a better trip than Sierra Leone overall because the pace didn't really develop. He was right on top of it. But I mean, he did dig in through the stretch to hold off the late charge of Sierra Leone when he was trying to come at him again. I guess I've got a couple of questions to pose to you about Mindframe. Number one, do you think a potential fast pace in this race, if it does develop, is going to hurt him at all? And number two, do you think he's as good at 10 furlongs?
Yeah, they're both very valid questions. I think the ones that you really have to contend with if you want to bet Mindframe in this race. I will say this: does a faster pace, it works more to Sierra Leone's advantage than it does Mindframe's, but I don't think it necessarily hurts Mindframe. I don't view him as a horse who needs to be sitting right up on top of the pace to be effective. 10 furlongs. I don't know. I mean, based on his Belmont Stakes last year, I don't really feel like it's a huge issue for him. I know he didn't win that race, but I could certainly argue that he ran every bit as well as the winner did in that spot. So I don't know, David. It just feels like, as green, as he was as a 3-year-old last year, I did feel like he cost himself maybe a couple of even bigger wins. Maybe he's over that stuff now. He's still got a lot to prove here. And I do think Sierra Leone's probably a more likely winner of this race. This horse is good, man. And he's going to be sitting closer to the pace than Sierra Leone is. Hopefully he doesn't get chewed up by it if they go really fast. He's a super dangerous horse in here.
Yeah, I think a lot of that narrative that distance might be a problem for him does stem from him getting a little funky in the late stages of that Belmont Stakes. But remember, that was just the third start of his career. And when you look at him as a physical, I mean, he is just this hulking presence that does give you the sense that 10 furlongs should be okay for him. And kind of a juxtaposition to the number 5, White Abario, as we move on to him, Mike. I mean, he is kind of the physical opposite of Mindframe. He is not that big, doesn't really look like a horse that's supposed to get a mile and a quarter. But then you look at his PPs and you remember he did win the Breeders' Cup Classic going this distance back in 2023. Now, I think this is a tougher race than that Breeders' Cup Classic was, because that was a bit of an off year for the older horses and the 3-year-olds. He got the job done. But even when you go back and watch that race, I mean, he kind of broke the race open at the top of the stretch and pulled away, but he was kind of gasping at the very end there. So I don't know if the 10 furlongs is really best for him. And watching the Whitney back, he did run better there than I initially realized when I went back to take a look at that replay again, because he was really wide on the second turn. I still don't know if I can project enough improvement for him to turn the tables on these horses.
I can't. I mean, listen, I'm done, sort of knocking him. I've never been a particular fan of his. I don't really like him going longer. When I watched the Whitney back, what I was most taken by was what an unbelievable ride, in my opinion, Irad Ortiz gave this horse. I really think that. I mean, it turned out maybe not to be the right plan, because I feel like when you watch it back, you can tell that Irad's plan in that race was to follow Fierceness around the track. I think he pegged Fierceness as the horse to beat. He got right on his back early in that race, and he followed him around the track, and he had, in my opinion, White Abario had every chance to win, and he wasn't good enough.
The number 6, Contrary Thinking, is in here for the stated reason of setting a pace for Sierra Leone. I know we don't see rabbits use that often in major races these days, but it's perfectly legal. And, he's a horse that some people say should be a coupled entry with Sierra Leone. We've seen rabbits win these races in the past. I don't think that's going to be the case with Contrary Thinking, Mike. And something I've noted about him watching the early stages of the Whitney is he was not the quickest out of the gate, but you could see Dylan was intent on getting him to the front end and influencing the race flow. But I'll be interested to see how that plays out with his main pace rival, Phileas Fogg, drawn right outside of him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's not much to talk about here as far as betting this race goes. We know why he's in here. Dylan rode this horse to instruction last time after he didn't get out of the gate well, and just set him up and made sure that pace went. And then this horse paid the price. I'm expecting more of the same in here.
And the number 7, Phileas Fogg, he is typically quick out of the gate, Mike, and I wonder if Kendrick Carmouche is going to maybe look to get over in front of that rabbit early if he doesn't break a step, if he breaks a step slowly again, because Kendrick is always aware of where the other speed horses are in a race, and he tries to take full advantage, and, if he's able to, on a horse that has the speed to get to the front. And we'll take a look at the most recent effort of Phileas Fogg when he did win, going this 1.25 mile distance at Saratoga, got a 104 buyer, which doesn't put him that far off the major contenders in here. And, Mike, you just have to admire how consistent this horse has been since he was claimed for 62,500 by Gustavo Rodriguez and the new connections. He's never finished worse than second in this barn. He just goes out there, sets an honest pace every time, makes the other horses come after him. And I loved what Kendrick Carmouche did on the far turn of this race, where he really opened up the gap on the rest of the field. And yeah, got a little leg weary at the very end of the race, but that's the way Kendrick rides this horse. And I think it's going to ensure it's an honestly run race.
Exactly. He did run really well last time, because he was loose on the lead in there, but he was not walking. He made sure that he went an honest pace up there and made the other horses sort of chase him from a long way out. He was getting very tired at the end of that race, but I think deservedly so. I think it's only fair to also point out, David, that he's now won his last 2 starts going this distance. They're both really good performances. I mean, the Excelsior, when he won that, I know it was a weaker field. It probably doesn't matter in the context of this race, but that was a really fast pace that he did not make the lead. He had to sit off of another horse that day, and he was fine doing that. He sat off that horse. He came running. He buried that field. So, I mean, there's a lot to like about this. I'm a huge fan of his. I just don't think he can win this race.
The number 8, Antiquarian, was the other horse in that replay of the Suburban that we just showed. He was lunging at Phileas Fogg at the very end of the race, kind of got dropped by him at the top of the stretch, but you could see the stamina of Antiquarian really come out in the late stages, because he just kept plugging along and almost came back to get the victory. It's kind of a similar story in the Blame 2 back, Mike, where he got dropped by the field at the top of the stretch, lost a bit of focus drifting out, but then got back on track at the end of the race. He needs to run a complete race this time, especially at this level, if he's going to be successful. But even if he does, I kind of wonder if he's good enough.
Yeah, that was my takeaway too, because you can just sort of see it. I know that he races closer to the pace than some of the other closers. Then he does stay at the end. So I don't know, man, maybe that is an advantage, but it just feels like there were going to be so many other horses, or at least a couple of other really good horses running at the end of this race too. And I don't know if Antiquary can finish with them, but I do think, listen, he's already proven that he'll see out this distance. It's just a question of how fast he'll do it.
And on the outside is the number 9 Banishing, a surprise late entrance in this race, coming back just 9 days after his win in the Charlestown Classic last Friday. We'll take a look at the replay of that race, Mike. It felt like just yesterday we were handicapping this race, and this horse did get the job done. It was kind of not the trip that I think you were expecting, because he got shuffled back in the early stages, maybe farther than you would have expected, given the tactical speed that he possesses going shorter distances. But Tyler Gaffalione launched this wide move down the backstretch, which you need to do at Charlestown to get in position by the time they turned for home, and he had taken the race over by that point. So he got the 9 furlongs over that bullring track that day. This is a much tougher task.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this horse he's unbelievable. I mean, I like everything about him. And I love that Jacobson just keeps entering him back. It doesn't even matter either, David. He'll run him in some, minor races too, but he'll throw him in against the big boys too. Jacobson doesn't care. I doubt he's going to win this race going 10 furlongs against these horses. And we'll see if he even runs, but he's a really, really cool horse.
He definitely is a cool horse. If he runs, I don't think he's going to be last. He'll be in the mix somewhere. We'll just see if he's good enough to actually get the job done. Let's go to picks for this Jockey Club Gold Cup. And Mike, I think we generally agree in here. The favorites merit a ton of respect in this race, so they're a little hard to get past. We both have Sierra Leone in second. You're going to put Mindframe on top.
Yeah, my take on this race, David, was when I looked at it, when I first started handicapping, recognizing the 3 and the 4, their way the horses to beat. My take was, let's see if I can talk myself into betting against them. Once I couldn't do that, I just feel like one of them's probably going to win. I don't care who wins. It's like a coin flip to me. Mm-hmm. I really want to watch this race to get some notes down for what's going to happen going forward here towards the end of the year. I put Mindframe on top, but I could have done it either way.
Yeah, I feel a similar way. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race plays out, just to appreciate it as a fan. If I'm going to bet on one horse in this race, it is the number 2, Highland Falls. I just thought last time that he was progressing the right way as a 5-year-old, maybe taken a step forward since last year. I really like the way he battled back at the end of that Whitney, and the 10 furlongs supposed to work for him, but as Mike said, works for Sierra Leone too, and he's going to be tough to beat in this spot. 2, 3, 4, 1 for me, and 4, 3, 2, 1 for Mike in the DRF Sunday race of the day, the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.